This video has been sponsored by Brainika, the awesome Roblox math game for kids. I'm a single dad with 3 kids and it can be hard to get the kids practicing their math skills. My kids love playing Roblox and now they can take 5 minutes at the start of the day to enjoy Roblox while also sharpening their math skills at the same time, thanks to Brainika. It's a fun way to practice math. It's a game aimed at children aged 5 to 9 and it focuses on quick math problem solving. The kids get to play one of their favourite game modes in Roblox with this obby style game, and they can earn coins inside the game to buy pets as they progress. As a parent, I can use the Brainika website to analyse my children's performance in the game, and if they complete enough questions each month, they can earn themselves a 400 Robux gift card reward, which is the Roblox currency that they can use to buy anything they want anywhere on Roblox. So make sure you give Brainika a try today, especially all the parents out there. Press on the link in the description below and give the 7-day free trial a little go. Thank you. Right guys, so welcome to Tank Talk. Today's topic of discussions is going to be Sax Champion. It's going to be Alkosh, Engine Guardian. Basically, we're talking about tank gear today. And the reason why is because I've kind of been working on the website this week, trying to get the trial builds up to date for the current patch, what's happening, who's going to be wearing what, how it's going to be ran. And when we look at the current climate of the game, so we've got the Ascending Tide patch now live on PC, it's live on console, it's live everywhere. The fact that it's no longer like a necessity to have a DK main tank, a Necro off tank. It's no longer a necessity to have multiple Necros. It's no longer a necessity to run Colossus. When you take those things into account, and you bring in the use of the Turning Tide set, which in my opinion is a very, very strong set, due to the fact it can be maintained 100%. It can be utilized by any class. It can provide a great uptime of major vulnerability. That set is far better than Sax Champion. So the question really is Sax Champion now a useless set? Is Sax Champion needed anymore? Is Sax Champion got any use? So when we take a step back and look at the group composition, are you running a Necro tank this patch in trial content? Now, you don't actually really need to anymore. You need one Necro in a group, ideally, just to cover any potential downtime from Turning Tide with one potential Colossus. That sometimes isn't even needed. The only reason you'd use a Necro aside from that is for empowering Grasp. The reason why Sax Champion was such a strong set in previous patches is when you combine the Colossus with Sax Champion, you got Major Force. Now you don't need that Colossus anymore. So in what world is Sax Champion useful at the current point in time? Now the only reason I can see a use for Sax Champion is for those situations where you need a heavy set on the off tank and there's no other option. Sax Champion at least has some benefit. The only time I see Sax Champion useful is when you're in a beginner group or a progression group and you want somebody to use a barrier. You use Sax Champion because you can use a barrier and still get the Major Force. So in those situations, it's useful. If we're looking at kind of a little bit of a higher tier end of the spectrum, there is absolutely no real functional use to use Sax Champion anymore. Because if you don't need the Colossus because you've got a good tank who's running Turning Tide, there's no use for it at all. So, I mean, this kind of brings us to the question is, what are you going to use on the off tank? Now, again, there are situations where Turning Tide could be used on the off tank, and then obviously Yolnakrin on the main tank, so they've both got a heavy set. In other circumstances, the main tank's going to need both Turning Tide and Yolnakrin. So then, what does the off tank wear? Well, if we scale this back a year, and think back to when CP 2.0 first came into play, before CP 2.0, before Sax Champion, we had tanks wearing medium body gear sets in trials in a lot of groups. It wasn't something that I was very fond of. It wasn't something I liked to promote very big, because a lot of groups struggle to do that. But I do think that we're potentially going to be scaling back to that situation again now. Because when you think about what gear sets are useful for the tanks, Sax Champion isn't a useful gear set now, if you're not using a Necro tank with a Colossus to get that dual benefit. So I do think we're going back to that medium armor wearing off tank in a lot of situations. And I do think that it's not a problem now. You've got to consider the fact that it's not a problem now, because using 5 medium and 2 heavy now is the same as wearing a 5-1-1 setup with 5 heavy this time last year before CP 2.0. You've got the same amount of defense now. Remember, we did all the working out for this. If you go and watch the old videos, we did all of the math. We did all of the working out on this. Using 5 medium and 2 heavy right now is the same as using 5 heavy this time last year before 2.0 on the CP. Because CP makes such a huge difference now. Like when it first got introduced, all the different things we can do with it, the CP makes a big enough difference that it's like wearing heavy armor last year. So wearing medium armor nowadays is not a problem. It's not that big of an issue. So what setups are off tanks going to wear? Now it's going to vary. It's going to vary very heavily depending on trial. Sax Champion's still going to have that use if you need a barrier. Still going to have that use in situations where the main tank has to wear Turning Tide and Yolnacrin. Sax Champion, is it a useful set? Not really anymore. It's not. If you're not using a Necro with a Colossus to get Major Force with Sax Champion, it's useless. For dungeon content, if you're using Sax Champion, I would abandon that with immediate effect. Because if you're using a Necro tank for dungeons, you'd just be better off using Turning Tide instead of Sax Champion. Because you've got to think, right? The Major Force that you're getting from Sax Champion, how fast can you generate your ultimate to proc your Colossus to get the Major Force from Sax Champion? Would it not be better to just use something like Turning Tide and then use a Horn? And then you get more DPS from doing that, because you also get the stats from the Horn. You've got to remember, the 10% increased Magicka and Stamina from using a Horn provide additional DPS. That is a DPS gain from having higher max stats. So it should be better DPS to drop stacks even in a dungeon build by using Turning Tide instead. So something to consider. The other gear set that seems to be on its way back, Alkosh. Alkosh. Now, people keep asking me, is it okay for a tank to be running Alkosh? The answer is absolutely not. Why or why would a tank use Alkosh? If you look, have a little look here, you've got to reach some ridiculously high weapon damage to cap out your Alkosh. For a tank, you're going to have to sacrifice absolutely everything to be able to get this capped out. Even if you don't sacrifice everything, you're sacrificing too much that it's not worth it. There is no reason why a damage dealer shouldn't be running this. If you need Alkosh in your group, a damage dealer should run it. A lot of groups seem to be going down the route of having a Dragon Knight with Zen and Alkosh doing stagger. That seems to be the thing with a buff DK in groups. And also, because you're already stacking your weapon and spell damage, you're obviously able to max out your Engulfing Flames as well with that particular DK. So Alkosh on a tank is still not going to be a thing this patch. It's not. Don't try and get it on a tank. If tanks are going to wear a pen set, it's going to be Crimson Oath Thrive. It's not going to be Alkosh. Alkosh on a tank is not something you should be doing. If you need a pen set, you'll use Crimson Oath. That works better. That is more consistent. Crimson Oath, you've got to remember the benefits of Crimson Oath. 360 degree AoE debuff. It is a easy activation. You just go on to your back bar, just have it on one bar, use a skill, boom, activates it. Both gear sets have got a 6 target cap. So Alkosh is capped at 6 targets. So is Crimson Oath. So Alkosh's downside is it's a frontal cone. And Obviously, with Crimson Oath, it's not. It's 360 degrees around your character. So, yeah, Alkosh provides a higher pen value. If you need 6k pen, or you need more than what Crimson provides, then a damage dealer should be running it. This is where, again, Sax Champion could be on its way out, because what's the value of Sax Champion? If you need a pen set, your off-tank could be running Crimson Oath. That's a heavy set. So Crimson Oath could come into play as an off-tank set instead of Sax Champion, because Sax Champion is providing zero benefit in a lot of situations. Crimson Oath is providing the pen value, and the reason why you might need pen for this patch is because some damage dealers are wearing medium armor pieces, which means they're dropping down. They're not hitting the pen cap anymore. Some people are wearing full medium or 5 medium or whatever. So Alkosh is something that you might need for the damage, but it has to be in your group on a damage dealer. It's not on the tanks. Crimson Oath, though, like I say, your Crimson Oath, it's there. It's there to use. Why not use it? Use it on your off-tank instead of Sax Champion. It's a better set than Sax Champion. Sax Champion is now kind of useless. So consider swinging in some Crimson Oath as a heavy set replacement instead. The other gear set I wanted to talk about is what monster sets are people using now to heal themselves on a tank. Now, typically, you don't need a healing monster set. And I'll tell you why. If you have got resources, if you've got Magicka, you're able to heal. That should be your main priority. Making sure you've got Magicka, making sure you've got good Magicka recovery, or Magicka cost reduction, whichever one's more beneficial for you. Make sure you're stacking that up. Then use the Magicka to heal yourself. Then you can use a 2-piece monster set that provides some of the benefit. Now, if you absolutely insist on using a monster set to heal yourself, in some situations it's advised. Let's think Cloud Rest. Let's think potentially Rock Grove Hard Mode. Those real minor situations, you might consider using a healing monster set. Now, the question is, what is the best healing monster set? And you'll get quite a few different opinions on this. Now, I've got some numbers to show you for this. Now, my personal opinion is the best healing monster set in the game is Engine Guardian. Now, you might disagree with me here because you might not have looked in depth at the numbers. Now, Engine Guardian can proc on a 25% chance. It's got a 10-second downtime and a 6-second uptime. It heals every 0.5 seconds. It's got a 1 in 3 chance to proc. Now, if we take into consideration the numbers, here are the numbers of the top healing monster sets for tanks. So you've got Troll King, which provides you with health recovery. Now, when it procs 1 time, over the duration of that 1 proc, it will heal you for 4,625 health. If you consider that it can tick every 2 seconds with health recovery, that's 27,750 health per minute. Now, over a 5-minute fight, you're going to get 138,750 healing from Troll King via your health recovery. So the only place that's worth considering Troll King as a healing monster set would be Cloud Rest. Now, the reason why I say this is because in Cloud Rest, you can stack health recovery, because health recovery doesn't get nerfed during the Baneful Mark. So the reason why this is useful is you can use Bewitched Sugar Skulls. You can use Divine's Gear because you almost never need to block in Cloud Rest. You can use the Steed Munder Stone. You can use Lingering Health Potions. You can stack all this stuff up, and then if you use Troll King as well, and also maybe you're a DK, maybe you're using you've got your major and minor of your health recovery, you're able to stack well over 5, 6, 7k health recovery. That means every 2 seconds, you're going to get a 5, 6, 7k heal. When you go into the portal, that can be quite useful, that you're not burning through resources to heal yourself because you're getting a 7k heal every 2 seconds. When you hit the execute phase and you lose all of your health is still going to tick every 2 seconds for that 7k because health recovery isn't affected by the Baneful Mark. So Troll King is useful. However, sometimes the healers will run Troll King in that situation. So it's not really worth it if a healer's running it. Only one person should run it in a group, ideally. But if they're not running it, Troll King is good for Cloud Rest. That is the only place that it's worth considering. The other option that people like to consider is Earth Gore. Earth Gore has had a significant nerf over the past few updates. It now will not heal you for 2 seconds after it procs. It procs, you have to wait 2 seconds before it will do a heal. It then heals every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. It's not very good. So when you get one proc, one proc will heal you for 6,808 health. That's 20,424 health per minute because it's got such a big cooldown as well. You've got to wait 20 seconds before it'll proc again. In a 5-minute fight, that'll only heal you for 102,120 healing. That's already less than Troll King. Now, this is tooltip value, so it will change. This will vary. The heal will go up based on your max stamina and your max magicka. So you are going to get a little bit more healing, but we're talking about base tooltip numbers here. So on paper, Troll King outperforms Earthgore. Now, Earthgore will be a little bit better than that. But when you actually consider Engine Guardian as a healing monster set, so one proc, if it procs health, will heal you for 23,460 health. That's a lot of health for one proc. That's the same as an entire minute's worth of procs of the other 2 gear sets. Now, it can proc once every 10 seconds. The resources come every 0.5 seconds. It's got a 25% chance to proc when you use a skill, and it's a 1 in 3 chance that it'll be health. Even considering all of those facts, if we consider the fact that in a 5-minute fight, it should have, on average, a 9.44 chance of an occurrence of the health to proc, that means we should get 221,462 health in a 5-minute fight. Not only will you get the 220k health, you'll also get 62,304 magicka. You'll also get 62,304 stamina. So you get an absolute ton of stats back. It's not just healing, but it's everything else. Now, the way that you've got to think about this is, if you have Engine Guardian giving you magicka back, but you need healing, when you've got your magicka coming in, you should be spamming your healing skills, spamming your shield skills. That's going to give you health. If you're getting stamina back, that means you can dodge roll to avoid damage. You can dodge roll to avoid hits. When you dodge roll, you evade damage. Use the stamina when you've got stamina coming in from Engine Guardian, and you need it for the healing. Dodge roll when you're getting stamina. Heal when you're getting magicka, and when you're getting health, it's giving you a heal. So whichever way you look at it, you're able to reduce your incoming damage by using Engine Guardian, by utilizing those 3 methods of dealing with damage. So Engine Guardian is the best resource monster set in the game. It's the best healing monster set in the game. It's the best for everything. If you are a new tank, or you're going into a new environment, or you're struggling for sustain, you should be using Engine Guardian. Thanks for listening to me ramble on about the tank gear, but this is my point of view. Just remember, guys, whenever we talk about something like tank gear, this is just my opinion based on the information that I can see. This is based on the information that I process in my head. People might have other varying opinions, and that's okay. We're all entitled to our own opinion. Somebody else might say Sax Champion's really useful, and then they're allowed to tell you why. And then you use that information, you look at their information, you look at my information, and you make up your own mind. I'm not forcing you to never use Sax Champion, even though I'm saying it's not a good set anymore. From my view, I won't be using it in my groups anymore because it doesn't seem to have any use. But if you're using it in your group, that is also okay. Like, there is no rules that say you have to listen to me or you have to listen to somebody else. You are able to make up your own mind when choosing your tank gear. So I advise you do that. Take this information on board, consider it, think about it, and figure out what works best for you, what works best for your group. And thank you for watching this tank talk.